This episode looks at methods to allocate joint costs. Most manufacturing processes involve joint costs, which refer to costs that are incurred to produce or purchase two or more products at the same time. These costs must be allocated among the joint products produced. There are two methods that can be used: the physical basis and the sales value basis. So let's take a look at the physical units method of allocating joint costs. Recall that joint costs are costs that are incurred to produce or purchase two or more products at the same time. So consider a company that is purchasing raw materials and processing them into four finished products. Joint products A, B, C, and D are produced at a total joint production cost of $120,000. Thus, the joint cost of $120,000 for the raw materials plus the processing costs need to somehow be allocated to the four products that it produces. Using the physical units measure, we look at the total physical units that are produced. 15,000 units of A, 20,000 units of B, 10,000 units of C, and 15,000 units of D are produced in the joint production process. So looking at how we can allocate the 120,000 to those four products, we are going to take the total physical units that are produced and figure out what portion is attributable to each of the products. So if I add up the total number of units produced, all of the raw materials purchased produce 60,000 units, 20,000 A, 15,000 B, 10,000 C, and 15,000 D. We are going to allocate those the $120,000 of costs based on the total number of units produced. So here's our calculation. The total cost, 120,000, divide by total number of units produced, 60,000. We end up with a cost per unit of $2 per unit. So now we are going to take the number of units produced of each product and allocate $2 per unit produced. 20,000 units of A at a $2 cost per unit, 40,000 is allocated to product A. 15,000 units of product B are produced at a joint cost per unit of $2. $30,000 of the joint costs are allocated to product B. 10,000 units of product C at a joint product cost of $2 per unit. 20,000 is allocated to C. Finally, for product D, 15,000 units are produced at a cost of $2 per unit. 30,000 of the joint costs are allocated to D. Thus, we have now allocated the $120,000 of total joint costs to the four different products. This helps us properly price the products when we know not only the direct cost of each product produced, but also any joint cost produced. The other method to allocate joint costs is very similar, but instead of using the total physical units produced, we look at and use the total sales value of what is produced. So recall we have $120,000 of joint costs that need to be allocated to the four products that were produced. This is the number of units produced of each product. We know that we can sell each of these 15,000 units of product A for 25 cents a piece. Product B can be sold for $3 a piece. Product C for $3.50 a piece. And product D for $5 a piece. So let's figure out what the total sales value is of each product. 20,000 units of A at a 25-cent sales value means the total market value or the total sales value is $5,000. Product B, we produce 15,000 units at a selling price of $3 per unit. total sales value, total market value, 45,000. C, 10,000 units at a sales value of $350 per unit, total sales value of $35,000. D, 15,000 units at a value of $5 per unit, total market value $75,000. The total market value of all products produced is $160,000. Of that $160,000, product A is $5,000 worth of it. The $5,000 sales value of A divided by the total value of $160,000 means A value as a portion of the total is 3.13%. Thus, A is going to be allocated 3.13% of the joint cost of $120,000 or $3,750. Product B, total sales value of $45,000 of the total sales value for all products. 45,000 divided by 160, 28.125%. So product B will be allocated 28.125% of the 120,000 joint cost or $33,750. C, 35,000 sales value divided by total sales value of 160, 21.875% of the joint cost, or 21.875% times 120,000, 26,250. And finally, product D, 75,000 sales value out of the total sales value of 160,000, 46.875%. That's the portion of the joint cost of 120 that will be allocated to product D.